Hi, it's Tracy from Step by Step Painting, and I'm going to show you how to paint this butterfly. I'm doing this on 11-inch by 14-inch stretched canvas, and I already have the butterfly traced onto the canvas. I used a sheet of graphite paper to trace the butterfly. This traceable can be printed out, and I laid it so that the butterfly is kind of diagonal, and parts of the wings are cut off because the paper is not that large. It's the 8.5 by 11 paper, so I just kind of extended the wings a little bit to make them go to the edge of the canvas. I'm going to paint the background first, and I'm going to use two colors. This is Cobalt Teal. This is a Deco Art Americana brand, and the other one is Titanium White, and this is actually Artist Loft. And I'm using a 3/4 inch flat brush. I'm going to dip it in the water and I'm going to pat dry. So I'm using the Americana for this teal color because the basics, the Liquitex that I use, it doesn't come in that color. So I'm using this one. It's the same student grade paint, but it's the Deco Art Americana. And so what I'm going to do is going to do these up and down strokes, but I'm calling them kind of basket weave strokes. So I'm going up and down short strokes, and I'm also going horizontal. So I'm going up and down a little bit, and then I'm also going to go horizontal. So the whole point of this background is so the edges are dark and it gets lighter as it goes towards the butterfly. So in a little bit I'm going to add white. I'm just doing just the teal color on the corners of the canvas, so doing these cross hatching strokes. I'm using the full width of the brush, so I'm going up and down a couple times and going left and right, and it's going to make it look kind of like a basket weave. And then as I go towards the butterfly, I'm going to grab white on my brush. So without rinsing it, I just grab the white and I'm going to go ahead and blend that in because the area, the background that's closer to the butterfly is lighter and the background that's further from the butterfly is darker. So we're just going dark to light, and our kind of goal here is to get it to be kind of a gradient. So it goes from dark turquoise to light. And as you're doing this up and down, left and right, that's how the colors are blending. So you want to kind of do the best you can to get the colors to be darker on the edges and lighter towards the middle. Obviously, it's not going to be a completely smooth gradient, so just kind of do the best you can. My strokes stayed kind of choppy, and that was pretty much the style I was going for. So just kind of expressive strokes where we can see the strokes, we can see the strokes that they're kind of choppy, and that's okay because it makes for an interesting background. So you can see that I grab a little bit more white as I get closer to the butterfly, and it's okay if you go over your butterfly drawing. We're going to paint over the butterfly, so don't go over it all the way because then we have to go back and white it out, but you can go over it a little bit. If it doesn't drive you crazy, you could try to not go over the butterfly, but I did. So I'm just going short strokes up and down, left and right, expressive strokes. Try to get it to be lighter in the middle, try to get it to stay dark on the edges, blend it together to create different gradients of that turquoise. So I'm going back over here to the edge. I grabbed more turquoise on my brush. I'm calling it turquoise. I'm going to call it turquoise and teal. It's kind of the same thing, but it's that cobalt teal hue color. And then closer to the wings, a little bit more white. So this is a very abstract background. It can be simplified if you don't want to do the white and teal gradient. You can just do a solid color. You can do just all horizontal strokes. You can come up here with your own sort of expressive strokes. So this is just how I'm doing it. And the video is speeding up just a bit. So all I'm doing is I'm just going back in with some of the darker and getting the edges to be a little bit darker here. And then just kind of blending it back. And I'm going to go silent here for just a little bit as I finish up what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm going to do some spirals on this background. So this is a 10-0 liner and my paint is fairly dry. If yours is super wet, I'd recommend getting a hair dryer and just kind of getting it to be dry real quick, or take a break and come back to it. But my painting is drying fast because I have the ceiling fan on and my paint is drying fast. So anyway, this is the liner and the 10-0 liner and titanium white, and I'm just doing spirals in the background. So just a bunch of little spirals. And then I'm also going to do little clusters of 3 dots here in just a second. So just a few spirals here and there kind of gives a fun, interesting background. And then I'm doing little clusters of 3 dots. Okay, next we're going to do the butterfly. So I'm going to use a number 12 flat brush, and I'm going to use the colors Cad Red Medium, Cad Yellow Deep, Cad Orange Hue, and Titanium White. So on my brush, I know that went really fast there, but I grabbed Titanium White on my brush and I'm going to start in the middle. So we're going to paint a gradient of light yellow and it's going to fade to red. The middle is going to be the lightest part of the butterfly, and as we work our way to the edges of the wings, they're going to turn red. So I am laying down my first base layer of titanium white, and really quick I went back and filled that teal area that I forgot. But back to this part. So I laid the first layer of titanium white in the middle, so not where the black part of the body is, but the furthest middle part of the wing. And then I'm going to grab Cad Yellow Deep Hue and I'm going to add that on top of the white. So the white was kind of a base layer, but to make it the yellow kind of lighter. And I'm using the full width of the brush and I'm just painting these full strokes from the right to the left on this side of the wing, and then from the left to the right on the right wing. But I'm just dragging each stroke outwards and it's going to kind of shape the wing here. So I have my drawing still, I can see my drawing and I'm just kind of filling it in, almost like I'm coloring a coloring book at this point. So obviously parts of that butterfly have been painted with the teal that kind of overlapped a bit, and if that's a problem for you, you can always add more white in there and the white will kind of cover up that teal a bit more. Okay, so next I grab the Cad Orange Hue without rinsing my brush and I'm going to kind of gently add that in there and to get it to blend. So it's kind of a drastic change from yellow to orange. So we want to just kind of go in gently as we blend in there. And then you could add more yellow to your brush to get it to blend a little bit more. I had a little bit too much white on my brush, so I rinsed it off to get the white off, and now I just have the orange and yellow combo on my brush. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm doing the dragging strokes and I'm blending that yellow with the orange. I'm getting it to blend by painting over it, by adding more yellow to my brush and just kind of gently getting that yellow to blend to orange. And I'm forming the shape of the wing. So I'm going to do it I'm going to continue on, and when you get to the the edge of some of the wings, you can use the side of the brush to kind of cut the shape in and kind of form the shape. Obviously, we'll do that later when we do the black border. So, but we still kind of want to form the shape of this wing so that it overlaps that teal part and we really define that butterfly shape. Okay, so I'm going to do it to this side. So I'm going to start out slowly to get that yellow to blend with the orange. Go in there very gently and slowly to drag that out. And then grab more yellow on your brush to gently blend the area where the orange and the yellow meet. I'm just dragging those strokes, wet on wet blending, where the two colors mesh over each other. That's how that yellow and the orange blend together, and the direction of the strokes are forming the shape of the wing. And I'm just going to kind of turn my brush on its side where the edge of the wings are to kind of form the shape. You can see where the teal is overlapping the butterfly because it's a little darker, so the orange is not an opaque color and that it doesn't entirely block out that teal. It kind of disguises it a little bit more the more layers of strokes that you add over the teal, but in the end it's not as noticeable because of the black border that we're going to add to it. So if you painted over it and it is super noticeable, then try to add a few more coats of paint to see if it works. You can try adding a little bit of white to your brush. It'll make your butterfly kind of a pastel color, not as super vibrant. But if it's too much of a problem, you might have to go back and white out a lot of the butterfly and then go back and paint over it. So, but so far, the teal part only went over it just a little bit, and the black will disguise it very well. So anyway, going on to the cadmium red medium, and I'm going to continue this blending thing. So I'm at the very edge of the butterfly here. So the cad red medium is that dark red, and it provides a nice contrast against the yellow in the middle. Makes this butterfly very bright and stands out. So, but I'm doing a lot of defining here. So I'm using the edge of the brush to really define the shape of that butterfly. So I'm outlining it, making sure that the shape is there of my drawing that I drew. So again, I'm also blending it. So when you blend, you do wet on wet blending. You add a little bit of orange to your brush to get it to blend with the red. You go over gently and you paint in the same direction. So the strokes are still dragging outwards as you get to the edge of the butterfly. And I'm going to do the same exact thing on this side of the butterfly, and I'm going to go silent here for just a bit as I repeat the same step of blending the red, defining the edges, and same kind of strokes. And I'm just going to go back in and add a few more coats of the orange to blend it in a little bit more. I'm going to add a little bit more orange to my palette here. And then you can do the same. So if you want to add a little more yellow in your butterfly, you want it to be brighter, you can do that. If you like the orange, you can add more orange. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm just kind of blending it back into the red. Essentially just adding another coat to my butterfly here. Okay, next you're going to need your Mars Black and a number 4 round brush. We're going to do the middle part of the butterfly. So go ahead and dip your brush in the water and then swirl it around in the black a bit to get it to be a little bit watered down. So dip it in the water, swirl it around a little bit, not dripping wet, kind of an ink consistency. This helps a lot with the black to flow because I find that for some reason the black is always so thick and then it doesn't flow as much as the other colors. So adding a little bit of water in there helps. So go ahead and paint the middle part with the head. I'm not going to do the antennae because I'm going to use the smaller liner brush for that because it's a smaller line. And then for the outer part of the wings, okay, so the line that is outlining the wing of the butterfly is not consistent. There's some areas where it's thicker and some areas where it's thinner. So as I'm painting this line to outline, I'm going to put more pressure on the brush in some areas and I'm going to kind of let off pressure in other areas so that it is not a consistently thick line. It is thinner in some areas and it gets kind of thicker in others. So so right here where I get to the tip of the wing, I'm going to press kind of thicker. And then the line that gets closer to the middle is a little thinner, so I am holding the brush a little lighter. So right here, the line is thinner, and then I'm going to slowly press harder as I get to the tip there to make that line thicker. So it's all about brush control. And then I'm going to kind of mirror this effect. It doesn't have to be exactly symmetrical, but I'm just going to kind of do the same concept, press thicker in some areas and get it to be thinner in others. So it's nice and thick down here, but then I'm going to kind of get it to be a little bit thinner right here in the middle. And then as I curve around here, it gets a little bit thicker and then thinner. So you can kind of see how that black border is in a way disguising that teal that's still kind of showing through, and it'll be a lot more inconspicuous when we do the black lines that are in the middle of the butterfly. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and switch to my 10-0 liner and get a nice flowy bundle of paint on my liner. So dip it in the water, kind of swirl it around a little bit, and we're going to do the antennae. So that's the thin line, and with a steady hand, I'm going to paint that. And then at the very tip of the antennae, where it kind of curves under, it gets a little bit thicker. So I'm going to make the tips of it just a little bit thicker. Okay, so I also use the liner for the designs on the butterfly, and I can still see my drawing. So this orange yellow stuff paint is not opaque. It's see-through enough for me to see the pencil lines that I drew in the beginning of this painting, which is perfect because all I need to do is just outline them and we're good to go. So I'm using my liner and the Mars Black, nice and flowy, and I am painting over those lines. So if you can't see your lines, you could kind of get a piece of chalk and draw them out real quick to make sure you feel a little extra confident about where your lines are. You can get the traceable and trace the lines back over the butterfly, or you can kind of wing it, no pun intended, and just kind of draw the lines as I'm drawing them. So, but I see my drawings, and that's all I'm doing. I'm outlining the lines with the black. And it's not a thick and thin line, it's a pretty consistent line. It's a thin line because it's a liner, but I'm not changing the pressure. It's pretty much the same thickness throughout. So this video is going to speed up just a bit here, and I'm also going to go silent as I finish outlining these drawing lines that I see through the paint on the butterfly. Okay, so this next part is not part of the traceable, but it is easily added. So I am just going to do some diagonal lines that go from the curved loopy line to the edge of the butterfly. So I'm going to do 3 on the upper corners of the wings. So 3 lines, 1, 2, 3. So 3 diagonal lines that go from the loopy loop thing to the tip of the wing. And then I'm going to do 2 lines on the sort of heart loopy loop thing and to the edge of the wing. And then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the same thing on the right side. So 2 lines and then 2 lines. And then I am going to do a white highlight line. So with the liner, you didn't see me rinse my brush, but I did. Rinse the brush, add the white, and do a highlight line on the head and the body of the butterfly. Okay, so then you're going to turn your brush on its side. So I'm using the back of the handle to do my dots. I mentioned earlier that my painting is drying fast because my ceiling fan is on. But if your black is not dry, then you're going to need to wait for it to dry or get a hair dryer and blow it dry. But so it is super simple. All I'm doing is using the back of the brush handle. I'm dipping it in the white and I'm painting dots all on the border of the butterfly. So on the black border, I'm doing the dots pretty consistently apart. You can vary the shapes. You can have some of the dots be dark, not darker, but larger than others. But I just did mine pretty much all the same just to keep it simple. And this is the last step in this painting. So I am going to wrap up this video. I'm actually going to go silent for the rest of this video, but that's basically it, just the dots. And don't forget to sign your name on the bottom of this painting. Share it with me on social media. Tag me on Instagram or Facebook, or upload a picture on the Pinterest pen. Thank you for watching this how to paint a butterfly tutorial.